Hello everyone, this is Cameron, and today I'm going to round off my favourite Decepticons from the movies. Now yes, the Decepticons are very controversial within the films because people describe them as, well, not really having any sort of character development at all, just there for mere firepower and, well, heavy blows, and that's pretty much it. And though you can agree to that to an extent, there are some Decepticons on the other hand that I just find really memorable in the state of how they appeared for the few seconds that they did. Now there have been a lot of Decepticons within the films, but I've rounded off to my top 5 really, that if you look at these as a solid sort of standalone group, then these are a real good solid batch of Decepticons. It's just unfortunate that neither of them have been all together at once. So rounding off with number 5, it is Shockwave. Now I put him at the very beginning because, well, he doesn't really speak at all. The only word he says is Optimus, and sadly Corey Burton didn't reprise his role because he, as I remember, didn't want to return. But from what we got of Shockwave, he was a powerful threat, obviously with his driller bot and everything, and his presence throughout the film. His design, I personally really like the design. That's one of the main things I like about the Decepticons on this list, is that the designs actually really stand out to me. He does look like a modern version of his original counterpart. He's got a giant cannon, he's got the eyepiece, he's basically got the resemblance to how he used to look. The only reason why I put him this high on the list is because, well, he really wasn't as much as a character, as he just sort of appeared and blasted stuff, and at the end we know that he kind of got killed. His eye got ripped out by Optimus, so that was sad. Moving on to the next one is actually Soundwave. So yes, Soundwave has appeared in the second film and the third film. He appeared in full form in the third film, as a car, disguised obviously to capture Carly and stuff like that, and I actually really like this design of Soundwave quite a bit. Obviously it's a little bit different from G1, but it still cares for those aspects. It does come with Laserbeak as well, and putting them side by side, it is good seeing them again. Of course Frank Welker does return for Soundwave, but he doesn't have that acoustic sound. It is pure in his main voice, as he started off by doing it. Obviously in the editing process they do tinker around with that, but what we got from Soundwave, this actually was a pretty cool looking design. I did not like how he was in the second film. He was basically just a satellite. Granted, yet again, he didn't last that long because his head got blown off by Bumblebee, but at the time, if you play him in the games, the Dark of the Moon game, that's definitely where you're going to like Soundwave a bit more, in my opinion. It was good seeing that entire scene with Megatron, Starscream and Soundwave. It's just a shame that stuff like that couldn't have lasted just a little bit longer. Now we have Barricade. Now Barricade actually find a character that they've sort of took from the old days, which actually wasn't really that popular of a character, and sort of made him something within these films. And well, I can say that people kind of like him the most. Consistently they're always asking for, where is Barricade again, because he appears, but then he disappears, then he comes back, then he goes away, and then he comes back again. And obviously with him being in the fifth film, it's still that mystery again. Not really spoilers, but we still don't know what actually happens to him. But it was good seeing him again in Transformers 5, knowing that, well, at least an original character from the first films is still alive, other than Megatron. Next up we've got Starscream. Now I've said this in the past, but Starscream is my favourite looking design out of the entire Decepticons within the movie series. I don't know what it is about him. People obviously make the joke that he looks like a Dorito, but he's a very cool looking Dorito of that. I particularly like the way he looked most in the Revenge of the Fallen and then so on, just because, I don't know, maybe it was the tattoos that kind of brought more cool looking to him, but I just like his design in general. I really like the voice actor as well who provided the voice. He really did a good job, and I feel like in the second film we actually got more of the Starscream that we used to know in the G1 days. That was only elevated a little bit on with Dark of the Moon, and then we know how that fate sort of ended, as he was probably the most wasted and disappointed character death, considering it is Starscream. But nonetheless, the moments we got him throughout the films, he certainly proved to be a real joy to watch on screen. It was just a shame that he really couldn't carry on onto the next films. Last but not least, we've got Megatron, because out of all the Decepticons, he's the one who's been given most dialogue. Granted, you can say since the first film he really hasn't reached his goal at all, considering he's everyone's pet in the second film, third film, fourth, fifth. Granted, his first voice actor, Hugo Weaving, I really liked that voice particularly. I wasn't as sad that Frank Welker didn't reprise his role. I'm glad that he did later on, obviously within Transformers 4 and 5. Granted, that was Galvatron, but he still came back, and now with him being officially Megatron again in Transformers 5, it was nice hearing Frank Welker again. But at the time, throughout the trilogy, I actually really liked Hugo Weaving. He brought this new level of real aggressiveness to the character. Now, if I had to say design-wise, I really have to go with the second film the most. I don't know what it was, but the tank and jet sort of combined in that way. I really did like that Megatron design the most. Some people hate it, I hear. I actually really enjoyed it. Granted, I think the next favourite design would be the third one. I just like that sort of rustiness, that sort of worn out version of Megatron, and then probably the next version would be obviously Transformers 5. But no, the fight sequences we've got with Megatron throughout the films, even when, from the beginning it started off really great, but then obviously throughout this franchise they obviously gotten shorter after time. Either way, just seeing Megatron in general, always good to hear him on screen and stuff like that. So there you have it, guys, that was my best Decepticons from the movies. Share me yours in the comment section below. I know there's loads of Decepticons, and the only reason I put these on the screen is because, well, I felt like they were the ones that really stand out the most and got more screen time in a sense. I don't know, I guess you can debate that in the comment section below, just be fair and stuff like that. I know it's always, always controversial when it comes to talking about these films, so there's that there. Anyway guys, this has been Cameron, hope you've enjoyed. Until next time, goodbye.